Daniel 3, verse 1, it says, Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 60 cubits, and its width 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura, in the province of Babylon. Then Nebuchadnezzar the king sent to gather together the local governors, the deputies and the governors, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image which Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Then the local governors, the deputies and the governors, the judges, the treasuries, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together to the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Verse 4, it says, Then the herald cried aloud, To you it is commanded, peoples, nations, and languages, that whenever you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, you fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. Whoever doesn't fall down and worship shall be cast into the middle of a burning fiery furnace the same hour. Therefore, at that time, when all the people heard the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, all the peoples, the nations, and the languages fell down and worshiped the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. Therefore, at that time, certain Chaldeans came near and brought accusation against the Jews. They answered Nebuchadnezzar the king, O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that every man who hears the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music shall fall down and worship the golden image. And whoever doesn't fall down and worship shall be cast into the middle of a burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These men, O king, have not respected you. They don't serve your gods and don't worship the golden image which you have set up. In verse 13 it says, Then Nebuchadnezzar, in rage and fury, commanded that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be brought. And then these men were brought before the king. Nebuchadnezzar answered them, Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you don't serve my gods, and you don't worship the golden image that I have set up? Now, if you are ready, whenever you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, to fall down and worship the image which I have made, good. But if you don't worship, you should be cast the same hour into the middle of a burning fiery furnace. Who is that God who will deliver you out of my hands? Verse 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered the king, Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If it happens, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of your hand, O king. But if not, let it be known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image which you have set up. Verse 19, Then Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury, and the form of his appearance was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He spoke and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times more than it was usually heated. He commanded certain mighty men who were in his army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then these were bound in their pants, their tunics, and their mantles, and their other clothes, and were cast into the middle of the burning fiery furnace. Therefore, because the king's commandment was urgent, and the furnace exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed those men who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. These 3 men, Shadrach, and Meshach, and Abednego, fell down, bound into the middle of the burning fiery furnace. Verse 24 says, Then Nebuchadnezzar the king was astonished and rose up in haste. He spoke and said to his counselors, "Didn't we cast 3 men bound into the middle of the fire?" They answered the king, "True, O king." He answered, "Look, I see 4 men loose, walking in the middle of the fire, and they are unharmed. The appearance of the 4th is like a son of the gods." Then Nebuchadnezzar came near to the mouth of the burning fiery furnace. He spoke and said, "Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, you servants of the Most High God, come out and come here." Then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the middle of the fire. The local governors, the deputies, and the governors, and the king's counselors, being gathered together, saw these men, that the fire had no power on their bodies, the hair of their head wasn't singed, their pants weren't changed, the smell of fire wasn't even on them. Nebuchadnezzar spoke and said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him and have changed the king's word and have yielded their bodies that they may not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Therefore, I make a decree that every people, nation, and language which speak anything evil against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made a dunghill, because there is no other God who is able to deliver like this." Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. Where we learn the loyalty that God expects of his people. That it doesn't matter the pressure, doesn't matter how many people are against you. If you're God's child and you've been trained by God, he wants you to stand up amidst that pressure and say, "No, I'm not going to violate God's law." God expects his children to stand up and say, "No, I'm not going to do it." Now, if God delivers me, fine. If he doesn't, I'm still not going to be disloyal to God. So these 3 Hebrew brothers, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, set a fine example for everyone that it doesn't matter the situation. If God says it's wrong, it's wrong. As the apostles said, we must obey God as ruler rather than man. We see here he set up this image, really a state image, a government image. He wanted worship done to it. Well, here God is telling all nations, you don't do this. You don't be setting up images for people to give acts of worship to. You don't set up flags and things like that and then do acts of worship to it, no matter what it is. It can be a cloth, it can be image, whatever. He doesn't want that done. So anytime you set up an image and then you want somebody to pledge allegiance to it or do something like that, God vetoes that all day, because he doesn't want a piece of cloth or an image to get any act of worship. He's God. You don't want to incite him to jealousy.